Hello, my name is Yoonji Park. I'm 25 years old. I graduated from Baeksuk University majoring in sports industry. I graduated from the school at the top of my department. This was very honorable for my life. Last year, I got a certificate in TESOL in Women's University, and about a few weeks ago, luckily I was invited as the only scholarship receiver at the University TESOL graduation ceremony.
Certificate of Scholarship for TESOL awarded to Yoonji Park, certified on June 14, 2018.
Next week, I'm going to United States in order to earn a master's degree of teaching English to speakers of other languages. Recently, I got 86 points in the TOEFL test. This was very greatly happy for me, even though some people having about more than 10 points in the test might think my grade is not that special. The grade is very important for me. That's because when I started studying TOEFL, my proficiency level of English was very low, while the people having greater grade in the test had a high proficiency level in English. You have to keep in mind that I started as a totally different person. This is my story. I think that this great accomplishment couldn't be possible if I didn't meet my current English teacher, whose name is Sang-chul Kim. From him, I have been learning English, especially TOEFL, for about 5 years. This period was very important and a turning point for my life. Before learning English and meeting my current English teacher, I was very common college students in South Korea. I really liked associating with other people, enjoying a lot of activities, especially sports, with them. At the same time, I tried to get a high score in every test and every subject. At the time, I remember that my dream was to become a professor in the field of sports industry. Unfortunately, I didn't know a definite way to achieve my goal. So I desperately needed someone who could guide me into a right way. Actually, at the time, I thought that I pretty well knew about English in comparison with other college students. But now I think that this thought was a big misunderstanding. What I knew about English was the tip of an iceberg. I knew just some grammar and some vocabularies. I couldn't speak and I couldn't write in English at all. After meeting Mr. Kim, a lot of things in my life changed. First of all, from him, I could learn how to prioritize what I have to do. I recognized that without knowing this priority, whatever I do is ineffective. Not only that, I could become a person who is more considerate. I started to pay more attention to the needs, wishes, or feelings of others rather than myself. When it comes to the listening section, my teacher gave me very important advice about the listening section. He said that listening takes place in brain before ears. At first, it sounds unusual, right? But his remark was definitely right. What he wants to emphasize is that even though you repeatedly listen to the same passage, if you don't understand it, it isn't listening problem anymore. It is your vocabulary, it is your grammar, and it is your reading ability. The first difficulty was about the listening section. Even it is still something that I have to get over. At the beginning of learning English, I could never ever understand what my teacher said in English. So in order to develop it, I tried so many things that I could do, but developing it was not that easy as I thought. Now I understand what he said. About 5 years ago, my listening ability could be significantly improved. And when it comes to the speaking section, he required me to memorize the sample responses in TOEFL speaking and check them in front of him, and I just did it. In the course of checking them, he corrected my false pronunciations, and I practiced it until I was accustomed to the right pronunciations. Now I'm being interviewed in English without any difficulty as you look at me. While studying TOEFL, I woke up 6:30 a.m. every day in order to write before 10 a.m. This was the appointment with my teacher. Once I came to my TOEFL academy, I planned daily routines with motivating phrases or words. This made me so driven to study for a long time. Furthermore, when it comes to the class schedule, on Wednesday and on Saturday I took a group class, and on Friday I took an individual class. And then about 9:30 p.m. I went back my home. During the resting days, I studied independently. This was my general routines. For studying TOEFL, my supporters were my family, my best friends, and even, let alone Mr. Kim. Nevertheless, in terms of financial aspects, my family, especially my father, was very supportive to me, and he had supported me for about 5 years, believing that I could make it and I could achieve my dream. But do you know the fact that in the past, my father sincerely wanted me to become a police officer like him. He thought that my athlete faculty was good enough to have the occupation and my characteristics were tailored to the job. But my dream was to become an educator. So in order to convince him into my idea, I tried to study much harder, and I tried to show my enthusiasm about this field. So recently, the admission that I got from Oklahoma City University and the scholarship certificate from the university proved my ability, and he acknowledged me. Now, he's the best supporter for me. I think that going to study abroad is very, very nervous and also a little bit exciting. Frankly speaking, the size of nervousness is much greater than the size of excitement. That's because, in the United States of America, a lot of shooting has happened, while it barely takes place in South Korea. So this makes me have a lot of worries or fears about living there. Also, I will have to deal with all the matters or tasks for myself, even through the second language, not Korean. Even though all the things or tasks are new and strange for me, I'm concretely convinced that I will be accustomed to the new environment with my passionate and positive minds or attitudes. Once I complete the master's program in Oklahoma City University, I definitely will come back my home country, South Korea. Then I want to work at the English academy that I had been learning English from my teacher. Then after building up rich careers of teaching English, I'd like to work at UNESCO, especially educational field. Joining the international organization is what I have been dreaming of for a long time. I think that education is a breakthrough in one's life. Actually, thanks to the education, I could grow up as a much better person in terms of personality and ability. Also, thanks to the education, I could have a dream of becoming an English teacher and working at UNESCO, especially educational field, in order to make it possible for all people to be educated, regardless of their birth, their background, their religion. I think it doesn't matter. Enable the needy people to be educated, because this education allowed them to have a dream or have a hope in their life. I'd like to become an English teacher who is highly knowledgeable about my field, I mean teaching English, and has a strong rapport with my students. Also, I will try to understand my students and communicate it with them, because this way greatly has positive effect on the education. I'd like to cite a particular Bible verse. Your beginnings will seem humble, so prosperous your future will be. Job chapter 8, verse 7. Actually, I'm not a Christian, but a lot of people surrounding me are Christians. This is very interesting in that it took place by chance. From my current English teacher, my university, my graduate school, to even my future roommate, they are based on Christianity. Thanks to them, I could have a chance to go to church and experience it. While studying and reading the Bible, I got a lot of inspirations from it. Among plenty of verses, Job chapter 8 and verse 7 was the most impressive verse for me. And the reason why this verse is highly relatable to my life is that about 5 years ago, I had nothing that I have with myself today. Also, there is something more that awaits me in the future.
준비 시작.
I think a lot of factors are important before raising a pet, but today I'd like to talk about two major considerations before raising a pet. The first factor